Mr. Silva.
Hello. Hello. My name is Dan Silva, and I'm one of the new Magruder Cluster coordinators, former Sequoia PTA president, and I'm proud father of two amazing daughters at Sequoia Elementary. In order to avoid some duplicate testimony, I'm going to allow my cohort, Kim Glassman, to give you some of the laundry list of individual issues at Magruder during her individual testimony, and I'm going to take a little bit higher level approach. Magruder opened in 1970 and has never had the benefit of a full renewal. Now with a new Damascus proposed, that leaves Magruder and Wootton standing alone as by far the longest neglected high schools without a renewal or a replacement by almost 2 decades. Quincy Orchard was 1988. But age is not everything, which is why we use many other metrics. In 2016, MCPS implemented a new set of metrics using the FACT methodology. Magruder was reassessed, and MCPS came to the conclusion that Magruder was dying and needed to be replaced due to the condition of our building. We were added to the CIP master plan in 2019. In 2020, we were given an expected completion date of 2027, despite not ever even making it into the planning and design phase. We were so close, but then in 2022, like Lucy yanking the football away from Charlie Brown, promises were broken and we were pushed back to 2029. In 2024, the football was yanked away again and we were completely removed from the CIP. Now you've rolled out the FCI, which has been widely touted as the gold standard for thoroughly evaluating the condition of our facilities. Nobody in our community was surprised when the FCI values were released and Magruder had the worst score of any high school in the entire MCPS system at nearly a 0.65. Believe it or not, that created a palpable optimism among many in our community. Here we are again being told that by every metric MCPS uses, Magruder is objectively in worse condition than every other high school in the county. Like Charlie Brown, we believe there's no way we could possibly be denied a top spot on the new CIP now. But then the current CIP was released and once again, Lucy yanked the ball and Magruder was omitted. But it gets worse. Dr. Taylor, we were surprised to hear about your new no sprinkling policy as part of your hard truths. The Magruder Cluster feels that MCPS has given up on even sprinkling us long ago. Over the last decade, it was under the auspices that it didn't make sense when we were so clearly in line for a new school, and I get it, who wants to throw good money after bad? In this CIP, though, you finally said the quiet part out loud. You've explicitly stated that you're not going to give the longest neglected, most depleted high school in all of MCPS any money because someday you might get a new school. Simultaneously, Magruder is listed for field turf in 2027 and on the roof replacement list for 2029. And I've spoken to dozens and dozens of families in our cluster, and not one of them believes that either one of those projects will come to fruition. Best case, it's lipstick on a pig. Worst case, it artificially skews our FCI score just enough to bump us down to being next on the next CIP. Now you're asking the Magruder community to support your plan to use Crown as a holding school. And I'll admit my first instinct was to jump behind it and offer my full-throated support. However, the more I've engaged with our community, the more skepticism I've encountered. Many believe, particularly some MCPS staff, that a holding school that brings us off campus should be our last resort. They believe that we could lose half our staff, half our extracurriculars, and half our identity in the process. To them, losing half of everything in order to reemerge stronger on the other side is a very Thanos way of planning. And spoiler alert, in case you haven't been to a movie theater since 2007, Thanos is not the model of strategic resource planning that you want to be compared to. Your new Crown plan isn't really a plan for Magruder. You've offered absolutely no tangible commitment to Magruder, just the mention that it could open us options for us. It feels a lot like you're trying to leverage our pain to advance this plan, but you're not willing to commit any resources to officially include us in it. It may well be that Crown is our best and most expedient option for advancing a new high school. We have a whole community of families who are willing and even eager to offer their support, but it has to be earned and it has to be a two-way street. If you want our support, you have to first be willing to offer us some kind of tangible support. And that brings me to my ask. Our cluster won't know what option is best for us until we actually begin with the planning and design. I implore you to revise the CIP, do away with the disingenuous line item placeholders for turf and roof, and allocate the funding necessary to complete the planning and design phase of a new Magruder. Then I'm asking you to engage directly with our community, not as a district, not as a region, but directly with our cluster. Principal Asienzo and our cluster coordinators would be happy to facilitate some kind of a town hall for that session. Lastly, Dr. Taylor, I brought you a gift, and it is genuinely not meant to be mean-spirited. It is simply a visual reminder of how the families in the Magruder cluster feel about this process. I want you to look at it the next time you want to propose or promise something to us and ask yourself, how will they feel if I don't follow through on this one? Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you for being here. We'll start from Ms. Glassman.
Good evening, Dr. Taylor, President Yang, and members of the board. My name is Kim Glassman. I'm the Magruder PTSA president, parent of 2 students, and a 2024 graduate. I'm a longtime PTA volunteer, having served as cluster coordinator and PTA president at Shady Grove and Flower Hill. I've been at this a very long time. For years, I've come before this board asking for follow-through on the long-promised Magruder High School renovation. After nearly a decade of delays and disappointment, I'm encouraged to see a proposal that might finally move our project forward by using Crown as a holding school. This can make Magruder's long overdue modernization possible, but we need more than just talk. We need more than the concept of a plan. We need action. The recommendation to remove out-year expenditures in the current CIP is no plan at all. In fact, there was nothing to remove in the first place. Magruder has been waiting for nearly a decade. We've been delayed twice, first to 2027, then 2029, and then removed altogether. During that time, needed repairs have not been approved because of this planned conceptual major project. Our facilities have deteriorated and are now beyond their useful life cycle. Magruder ranks as the most depleted high school according to your facility condition index. We have been patient and understanding, but patience doesn't fix roofs, patch leaks, or keep the ceiling from falling during our musical, thankfully not on any audience members. It does not run the AC during exams on 90-degree days or make the parking lot ADA compliant. It doesn't stop the water from pooling after heavy rains or preventing divots from forming on our fields, which lead to ankle injuries, namely my own daughter. Lockers are broken, restroom renovations are long past due, temperatures fluctuate wildly, security camera coverage is incomplete, exterior lighting is dim and unsafe, the bleachers are falling apart, there is mold throughout the building, ceilings bubble with water, elevators and wheelchair lifts break down, and the girls' locker room is just plain gross. I invite each of you to try to make a left turn out of our parking lot during dismissal or after a nighttime event to understand the danger of the darkness of our parking lot exterior lights with our new drivers. These are not minor issues. These are urgent needs that require attention well before 2032. Using Crown as a holding school might give us a path forward, and I echo Dan's comments about engaging our community and getting community buy-in, but it's not just about a holding school. Please don't make another promise of a future plan that will just kick the can down the road or yank that football out from under us. Don't string our community along for another decade. MCPS has been talking about Magruder longer than I've been a PTA president, which is pretty remarkable. We cannot wait another decade. Now is the time to plan, fund, and finally renovate Magruder High School. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Facility Condition Index ranks Wooten as having one of the worst facility conditions among all secondary schools, second only to Magruder High School. Yet, shockingly, neither Wooten nor Magruder are included in the superintendent's current CIP.
Ms. Stewart?
Yes, I just wanted to give thanks for the testimony from Magruder High School. I'm looking at the Ever Farms rate, which is actually tells the bigger story at high schools because we have drop-off in farms, and it's at 62.6% Ever Farms. And I do know that when you have a higher level of need and poverty, and you're not quite as close to Rockville, it's difficult to get a room full of people to here and 50 signs. So if you look at the data, Magruder definitely rises to the top of need. So I just wanted to point out that just because we don't have the full community that shows up for certain schools doesn't mean that their need is any less. Thank you.
I just feel confused as to when I look at that data, which I ultimately had to Google myself, and it doesn't seem to show that. So that's just something that is concerning to me when we're asking to sign up for this multi-year plan, which I'm not even sure will ultimately be binding, because in December of 2028, every single one of us elected officials could not be up here on this board. And these projects aren't slated to be complete irrespective of which option until at least 2031, right? So if there's an entirely new board here, whether it's in a year or 3 years, and they say, you know what, never mind, then are Magruder and Wooten even getting what they're hoping for anyway, or are we pulling the football away like I think it was Mr. Silva suggested the other day?
I think as a part of the option development process, I would like to understand the financials. How does the funding work out? Because this is what you would spend and how much you would save, but it all depends on how much we get from the county. And so in your option development process, I need scenarios. So fully funded, bad year, and, if we don't get fully funded, how long down the road would Magruder and Wooten get built? And what would that mean for a holding school if there is no project for it to cater to?
Looking at the timeline,
Yeah.
just that you have here projecting when Magruder and Wooten would be completed, if it was done on site while the students were still on site. I'd like to understand a little bit more about how you came up with those dates. Is this work that's only being done in the summer? Is it work that's being done while they're in the buildings?
Yeah, so for the first option, which is a renewal for both Magruder and Wooten, meaning we're going to be renovating the building, because there is no holding school, we had to assume that it's going to be done in parts, which extended the timeline. So it would have to be doing while the students are in the building. We would, have basically take over sections of the building, trying to renovate, then move them over to the completed section, then do the next part, which is essentially where that timeline stretched out.
So can I just understand now? So you're saying a renewal, so you're not talking about tearing down the building?
That is the second option in the chart.
Okay.
So the second option assumes that it is going to be replaced on site. So Magruder students would sit in the current Magruder while we build over their field or other spaces within that site. So you will see that timeline is slightly shorter.